see. Let me lower this down, I'm short. Hi, everybody. I'm Elena Norman. That's okay. I'll go by Newman or whatever. Hold on one second, real quick. My OCD-ness has been driving me crazy here. I have to. Okay. Stay. Okay. Sorry, that's been bugging me for a little while. So, I came up here last Thursday for the first time ever, first time doing stand-up here in Florida. I recently moved here from North Carolina. And it's been a really crazy 3 years, you guys. I started out 3 years ago by leaving my husband of 22 years. Woohoo! No. I get a mixed bag on that. I get the, oh, I'm sorry. Believe me, it was not a bad thing. It was not a bad thing that I left. That actually started a very long string of first times for me. I did a lot of firsts. And so tonight I'm going to share a little bit about that. So right after I left my husband, the very first thing, and I'm going to kind of refer to my Look on the Bright Side notebook. I've been having to do that a lot lately. I started out my string of firsts by getting my first DUI while I still was living in Colorado. Yeah, lots of fun. Well, it was really fun because the cops, when they pulled me over, I was naked from the waist down. Yes. Apparently what had happened is that somebody had called in and reported that they saw my car swerving. And indeed they did. Unfortunately, I had been driving blackout drunk. I do not recommend this. Please don't drink and drive. Just want to say that. I had been driving blackout drunk and came out of this blackout violently. Came into consciousness while having the explosive experience of having shat in my pants. Yeah, it was special. And so needless to say, I was swerving when that happened, when I came into consciousness. And so I pulled over and had to deal with this situation, and the only thing I could do was remove my pants and put them in the back seat. And so I kind of figured, I kind of composed myself and got back on the road, sans pants, and that's when the cops pulled me over and found me in that state. So that was how my 3 years started. So I have a list here, actually, of my other firsts that I'm going to share with you. Because then after that, I moved back to North Carolina and to live with my parents. Fun. And proceeded a whole long string of firsts. So this is what I did. First and foremost, I came out as bisexual. Woohoo! All right. And as a result, enjoyed countless sexual exploits. Yay. I got myself a blackout drunk for a boyfriend. So much fun. I decided to try all the drugs. And in particular, and mind you, this is at the age of 42, I tried cocaine for the first time and fell in love, decided to get addicted to it, and then proceeded to move on from cocaine to crack. I was doing accounting by day and smoking crack in the evening, and then of course, as a result, I came down to Florida for the very first time to go to rehab. Yay! So then I went home and had my very first relapse, which happens, okay, let me turn the page here. So then I got another boyfriend that he actually would panhandle for money. He had different signs. And my sister affectionately called him Snaggletooth. Yeah, if you can have a mental picture there, it's quite lovely. So then I had my first overdose and near-death experience, which brought me back to Florida again. Came back to rehab, to Palm Beach in particular, and that's where I've been living. I've been living here, wonderful sober life. It's been fantastic, and I decided to, thank you. I love it. And I decided to try my hand at poetry. Never done that before, never wrote it, never did it, or performed it. And so last week I actually read my poem to everybody, but it was kind of late at night and there were very few people. So if you don't mind, if you guys are okay with it, I'm going to read my poem to you that I wrote. Is that okay? Sure. All right, let's see. Let me flip back over here. Okay, so this poem, the name of it is based on the very first words I ever said on stage when I did my very first stand-up open mic. And it's called, I Left My Vibrator in Boulder, Colorado. So, I left my vibrator in Boulder, Colorado. Why? Because leaving it in a conspicuous location with a Post-it note attached, telling my husband where he could shove it, was quite satisfying and to the point. Because after living in a sexless marriage for so many years, it was time for me to thoroughly explore my needs and desires, and batteries would not be required for that. Because after years of being told I was too fat to turn him on, this voluptuous woman was ready to have someone turn me on. Because I was tired of being the master of my own domain. Because I moved back in with the parents, and last time I came home with a rudimentary version of this tool, my mom decided to be nice and unpack my things, leaving me to come home and see it proudly displayed on my desk, standing straight up like a superhero. Because I was ready to open Pandora's box and unleash my pent-up sexuality on the first unsuspecting man or woman I came in contact with. Because I was married at 19 and had never experienced a one-night stand. Because the backseat of my Volvo S80 is very roomy. Because I found out the hard way that it's not a good idea to just have one bar you frequent and from which you acquire all your conquests. Yeah. Because my walk of shame meant coming home and passing my 90-year-old dad sitting at the dining room table just shaking his head. Because the first time I snuck out of my parents' house at the age of 43, I was totally caught, but got away with the excuse, oh, I was just doing Tai Chi in the backyard. It was 4:30 in the morning. Because of all the amazing adventures sex, drugs, and alcohol brought to fruition. Because all those said adventures brought me to the precipice of ruin and disaster. They stripped my soul of life and made me a shell of a human being. Still, they were necessary parts of my journey. Because it finally allowed me to come face to face with my addictions, making sure I knew once and for all that I truly was not the master of my own domain. This sexual freedom cry has been replaced with the strength and knowledge I've acquired from getting to know myself for the first time in my life. I am a fierce warrior goddess. It's been 3 years since I left that vibrator in Boulder, Colorado. I am happy, I am single, and I am head over heels in love with myself. I now reside in Palm Beach, Florida, and I think it's time to go shopping for a new vibrator. Thank you, guys.